Hi everyone, and welcome back to the channel Your Stars Aligned. So today we have again with us Vedic astrologer Levi Cosijn of levicosijn.com. Welcome, Levi.
Hi Carmina, how are you?
Good. Levi and I decided to do a video about Rafael Nadal since he won his 11th great victory tournament and we thought that definitely that should show up in the chart. So this will be a more technical video. Maybe you need at least intermediate knowledge for you to watch it, but if you're a beginner and you still like to watch, please do, because you might find some interesting things. So what would we talk about today? We will look at Rafael Nadal, and we will look at, actually you tell me, Levi, what are we looking at exactly?
So I think maybe we could go over some yoga stuff to see his, to reflect a little bit on his kingship, because he is the king, right? And I think it's very clear. The system proves to be accurate enough, right? So, and then we can also look at his Bhamsa chart, because the Bhamsa chart is all about competition, using one's, it's about strength of volition. Mars is the important planet there. So if you want to win a competition like Roland Garros, and Bhamsa chart has to be heavily activated. And we're going to look at his Bhamsa chart, how it's playing out for him. And so we're going to look at the transit of yesterday, right? So we have to have some confirmation there from the transits, and it does play out. And so I think we could give a little demonstration.
Sure. Can you share your screen, please?
Yeah, sure.
Yes. So again, Levi's website is levicosijn.com. My website is yourstarsaligned.com. Can you make it so that I'm also visible? Like, oh, I am. Okay.
Okay. All good. Yeah. Okay. So, well, we can just go about this and look at some Parashara stuff and some Jaimini stuff to look at the Raja Yogas, right? The powers, the combinations are, combinations of or planetary permutations that give a certain strength or a certain power to the horoscope, right? And for Rafael Nadal, we can look at, what is it? For example, we can start with.
For instance, can we look at the career factors that make him like a tennis player?
Sure. Yes. So his Atmakaraka is Mercury, right? So of course Mercury relates to the hands and skills.
It's in Gemini, so even more so.
It's in Gemini, so it relates to the hands. It's also conjunct the sun, which is always strengthening that path, right? It's in the 8th house of going deep, right? This is a guy, a man that really knows what he wants and then really sacrificed everything to become the king. Like I think he won 11 times or something.
Yes.
An extreme success. He's also a Scorpio ascendant, which is of course ruled by Mars. Mars is in the 3rd house exalted, which relates to competition. Right, so we have that 8th house connotation of sudden ups and downs and success also. Okay.
Also, the 3rd Mars is the lord of the ascendant and is exalted, and it's manifesting the ascendant, which is the body, which is an important thing for an athlete.
And also Venus is aspecting his body, which is also important in terms of athletes, right? Because it's recuperation. Yes, exactly. Then his Lagna Lord is also aspected by an exalted moon, which is great. Also, his moon is in Ashvini Nakshatra, which is symbolized by the horse. So it's a nakshatra of speed and elegance and power, and also pleasure. So
if I remember correctly, it's described in the Tatriya Brahmana as a light and swift nakshatra.
Light and swift, and also reaching things very quickly, right? He started playing when he was 3. He was a professional a couple years later, like when he was 15, and so on. So I think it's also the moon is his ninth lord, right? And we see like a very strong dharmic flow, right? The ninth lord is in an exchange with the seventh lord, so that's a Maha Yoga. The ninth lord is exalted, right? It's also planetary aspect in the ascendant here, but we're looking more like to the Rashi aspects, right?
Also, for career combinations, I think it's interesting that his Lagna Lord is Mars, and Mars is about hitting things and poking things, and you know, like tennis, you hit a lot.
You hit a lot, and also the career Gemini indication is the Upapada, right? So, and the Upapada falls in the sign of Aries here, so it will have some signification because it's ruled by Mars. But the ascendant lord is, of course, important because it rules your swadharma, right? Your natural inclination. In the third house of competition, it's Mars exalted. So yes, then we have Mercury, then in the sign of Gemini, and so on. So I think that's quite. Also, his Lagnapada is Jupiter, is Pisces.
Wow.
So it makes him a Srimantaha because Jupiter, Venus, or Moon, or an exalted planet in the Lagnapada makes one a Srimantaha. And maybe we can explain a little bit about the Pada. So if we're looking for the Lagnapada, Lagna is the ascendant, you're going to look at where the Lord of the ascendant goes to, right? So here that's Mars, goes to the third house. And then from Mars, you count an equal amount of houses. So that's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So the Lagnapada becomes Pisces. And so, you know, Gemini says whenever Jupiter falls in there, it's making one a Srimantaha, a wealthy, glorious person, which he is. So someone that inspires people, right? Jupiter is also an important planet because it's the fifth lord, which is, what is it? An auspicious lord, right? For Scorpio ascendant, and it's in the fifth house. And also we have the ninth lord in the seventh. That's another Raja Yoga. We have an exchange between between the moon and Venus, the ninth and the seventh lord, which is a Maha Yoga. So there's a strong dharmic focus.
I also think it's very interesting, excuse me for interrupting you, that he has, Rahu in the sixth, and the sixth is, it has the connotation of intelligently dealing with problems, and Rahu's lord is exalted. And also, the sixth is your enemy, so his opponents are also pretty worthwhile.
Absolutely, like they're all, being yes. And also it's
I just wanted to say, so back in the day, you know, Mars, the Lagna Lord, is a Kshatriya planet, so a warrior. But now these days you can manifest this warriorness in sports or in music by hitting instruments or, you know, hitting a tennis ball. So you can manifest this Kshatriya energy in other ways. You don't have to go in the army necessarily if Mars is a warrior planet.
Yes, and Aries, of course, the head, going about things intelligently, also erratic, right? Rahu there. So also it's his, soul's mission to balance that point out and to really go into it boldly and aggressively and forcefully, and defeat his enemies, right? And of course the Lagna Lord, it's also the Lagna Lord, but the Lord of Rahu is exalted.
Yes, he is described by sports commenters and critics that having like a bold, aggressive style. So it really shows from his chart, and a very rapid footwork. So like moving on the field, which is like you mentioned the Ashwini Swift Nakshatra.
Yes, and also more like short movements. Yes. Also, it's in Capricorn, right? Capricorn relates to that. This to status, we have the ascendant lord there as well. So there's many ways it seems to play out for him.
And it's also interesting you mentioned that he started playing when he was 3. And so I definitely think it's a Ketu thing. Like when you start doing a sport when you're 3 years old, definitely you have some past life action going on. And if we look at Ketu, it's there in Libra, and he was running actually the Libra Lord Venus Dasha when he started playing tennis in 89. So I think that's very interesting.
He just started the Venus Dasha. That's very interesting. Also in the 9th house there. Okay.
His path, so like his dharmic path.
Yes, very strongly.
This is a person who knew what he wanted to do from a very early age.
And being very determined. Like Mars is all about strength of volition and determination and discipline. Mm-hmm. And also, you know, when you're gonna do it, also you really do it. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, Kshatriya, as you mentioned. So, I think that's all very clear, indicated in his horoscope. Mm-hmm. Also, we could look at his the dasha that he's running right now.
Yes.
Also really shows it very clearly, actually.
Wow. Moon Jupiter.
So, yes, he's in the moon dasha. So the moon is the ninth lord, right? Mm-hmm. It's in a power place because it's in an angle there. It's also in the exchange. It's also involved in a lot of other important yogas, like the core yogas, right? Mm-hmm. I could pull it up just 1 second to just go over it like briefly. Mm-hmm. Because it is running the moon dasha and it's going to be important. So the Lakshmi dasha is already there, right, which is the ninth lord in Mulatikona, own or exaltation Rashi, and the Lagna lord strong, right? Mm-hmm. This is often given also. The Lagna lord needs to be strong. Mm-hmm. So looking at yogas, and so here it's actually the case, you know.
Mm-hmm. Prosperity yoga, correct?
All these yogas have to do with wealth and prosperity and status and kingship.
We can't see the yoga screen, so I mean it's not visible.
It's not visible?
No, because of the computer setting, it goes somewhere. I mean, you can see it, but we can't see it. So just so you know, you have.
Okay. So I'll just go over it then. Just let me change some setting here. I'm making sure that you see it. Perhaps this changes the situation. Do you see it now?
Right now, yes.
Okay, so I know what's going on. Mm-hmm. It's going to be better. Right? Okay, so I'll just put this here. So the Lakshmi yoga is there happening. So one will be charming, famous, and he's definitely charming, famous, high moral merits, yes, virtuous, and so on. So it's an important yoga. It bears on well because it's, you know, Lakshmi is, of course, a consort. It's explained here. Of Vishnu, which is, of course, the Lord of Manifestation. So it's all about material well-being and also following one's dharma, which is always the ninth lord.
This yoga was activated in Venus when he started playing tennis.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And he has that ninth house dharmic thing going on all over, right? Venus there, also then Jupiter, making him a Srimantaha. Jupiter is also in the fifth house, the dharmic house, mm-hmm. and so on. So but we were looking at moon, right? So Lakshmi yoga is going on. There's some other yogas going on, like Jupiter or the moon exalted in the 10th, 4th, or 7th. So the moon is exalted here in the 7th. So that's another strong yoga. It's quite common, but it's a nice yoga. Mm-hmm. And we have the 4th lord, Saturn and Jupiter in an angle from each other. So that's also a good yoga, but it doesn't really involve the moon. But he's running moon Jupiter dasha. So Jupiter is important in that respect. So he's running a really nice period. There's also the Chandra Moon Yoga, right, which is the 10th lord in an angle, trine or second from the moon. So
and here the pleasure of the 16 that is above, that is a Jupiter Yoga as well.
Yes, he has that one too. Mm-hmm. In the 2nd or 5th, he is in the 5th and aspected by Mercury. Mm-hmm. So he has all these yogas going on. Now, there's some other yogas going on, but if you look at the yoga judgment screen, like to quantify the strength of the yogas, right? These important yogas. Then what is it? Where is it here? Just look at the moon yoga. That the moon here, mm-hmm. It has a 13.2 positive yoga.
Yes, so he's positive because the moon is an auspicious planet for Scorpio ascendant. So we look at the green at the positive one. If it were negative, we would look at the red. You know.
Yes, so. Definitely positive here, and it's also his strongest. If you look at the, you know, the Ishtakashta and so on.
The sun is also Yoga Karaka for Scorpio, and it has 8 points. So he's doing really well, I guess.
Venus. He's doing really well. Yeah, Jupiter is less here, but if you look at some other Gemini yogas, mm-hmm. We're not going to explain that here. I'm just going to pull it up just to see, because this is a specific way of, you know, it would take us like an hour to explain at least, right? But he's running very nice yogas as well. So let's not go into it here too
You
much.
can say a bit about the yoga, like the points. Just say like at the moment how many.
Yeah, at the moment he's running the Moon Dasha, and he's running 2 3-point Raja yogas. Okay, so this is involving the Rashi, the D1, the D9, and the D3 charts, and they're all very these time sensitive lagnas and so on. So not to confuse too much here, because we would need to explain it, right? But it's this is one of the Gemini ways of looking for strength in a horoscope, for like actual success. These are the success. Gemini gives like a series of ways of calculating planets and so on to and he gives several combinations that can make someone successful. And so if you add these things up, you'll see in very successful people that these things actually pile up and pile up and pile up. And then if you look at it from the Parashara angle, some things get confirmed, others a little less, so you have to do the whole analysis and look at least 10 techniques and then cross-check and then to see, because sometimes it's not always clear. But when a person like Rafael Nadal, who's really a king, it should be indicated in the Rashi chart that there's some great potential there. But specifically, this chart is also it's very nice. It's in fact a very important technique, and maybe we could do like a clarification of that, or a class on it, or something. Or we could do that. And then so he's running the Moon Jupiter Dash, and Jupiter has 3 2-point yogas, which is very nice. So
also I wanted to mention that there was Drakana involved there. So for a sport, for an athlete, it's especially important, the Drakana, because it has to do like with courage, competition, as well as the Bhamsa that you will be discussing later. Correct?
Yes. Okay, so we're going to look at the Bhamsa chart more specifically, right?
Yes.
Because the Bhamsa chart is also called, it relates to the nakshatras. It's the D27 chart. So I could pull it up. All right.
Can you talk a little bit about Bhamsa? What is Bhamsa exactly?
Yes. So Ba relates to the nakshatras. It's a D27 chart. There's 27 nakshatras. It's also called what is it? The Nakshatramsha or the Saptavimsamsha. There's a couple of names that are given, and it's all about strength of volition. So the nakshatras, of course, are there. The conscious they're the forces that make our consciousness grow here on Earth. The way we go about, how conscious we are to make things grow in a certain way, specific. So the nakshatra is going to do that in a specific way, in a specific manner, right? And there's 27 of them. So it's like a conscious use of our will. This is what the Bhamsa indicates. So it's a very important to look at in terms of competition, skills, and talents, right? So whenever you need your will, and your conscious use of your will, when you need to apply your will, like to do something difficult, to struggle through something, to fight something, this kind of thing, we look at the Bhamsa chart. It's an important Varga chart, and it's good to look at it for many events, right? To see how capable is a person. Like even, people. This is the times of the time of examinations, right? Young people need to do it. So you can look at the Bhamsa chart for the individual as well to see how strongly they're anchored to that, okay, to willing, putting the effort in and to really push through and fight through it. It's very, very, very much about fighting through, like forcefully and skillfully and strategizing and willfully.
So what would you say is the key planet, the key Karaka for this Bhamsa and the key Bhava?
So it's Mars is the Karaka, right? And the third cusp is the important cusp. Also the fifth cusp, because the fifth is the third from the third, right? So the D27, you just divide that by 12. Like there's 2 times 12, fits 27, that's 24, and then you add the rest. That's like 3. Okay, so the third cusp is important. So that's going to be, So like, for example, in the D16 chart, right, 12 fits 1 time there. So then the rest would be 4, and then the fourth cusp would be important. That's like a mathematical simplification of things, right? But it has deep meaning, and so we can't explain that all here, right? But it's very interesting to see that in Rafael Nadal's horoscope, the third house, because see, I looked at his transits yesterday, right? And the birth time given is 6:20 p.m. But I had to add a little bit. Okay, I haven't rectified his horoscope, right? Because I think
it takes too many events, but yeah.
Yeah, but it seems to work nice when we add a little bit, you know, like
seconds.
Yes, a couple of seconds, 34 seconds, as you know, given in the what is it, Astro Data Bank. So,
well, when I look at this chart, some things pop up to me. You know, the passion of Mars and Venus together, the abundance of exalted Jupiter with Moon in Cancer, or with the 10th cusp, but also the, you know, the enmity between, you know, Sun, Saturn there with Mercury. So
yeah, there's some friction there, right? Which is important for athletes, I think.
yes,
right? There's the whole body dimension. Excuse me?
The competitiveness, I guess, also, you know,
the competitiveness, also the weight for the body, like the body is constantly suffering like this. It's completely unnatural to, you know, put in so much effort, we could say, but it's fun to watch. And I mean, they're kings, right? But there should be some friction there as well, right? Because they're, you know, horses, right? And this guy is really strong. And so, yeah, so Mars, of course, we already mentioned that Mars is exalted in the D1 chart, which is, of course, the chart or the Varga of the body, right? The physical strength of the body is important. We also saw that there, even though Mercury is a little agitated, but, you know, it's also manifested by Mercury. The sun is manifested by Mercury there. So, okay. Now, Mars is important. Mars is, I'll just put up the dignities, is in a great friend's dignity. It's in a Kumara state, so it's in a youth state. It's able to manifest its own cusps, which is here the 9th cusp, right? But it is the Karaka, that's most importantly, okay? So we have to look at the manifesting influence to the Karaka, also the dispositor, etc. So first of all, it's with Venus. That's not going to, an exalted Venus, that's not going to be a bad thing. And it's also aspected by Mercury, which is a manifesting influence, and also all the malefics here. Well, yeah. So, but Mars is doing
exalted. I mean, Venus is so for recuperation. It's great.
Great. It's also, Mars is also in an angle here, which is also not the most terrible placement. And Mars dispositor, importantly, this is showing how important dispositors are, right? Is exalted. Also, the 3rd cusp, as we mentioned, is the important cusp for an athlete, right? And for the Bhamsa chart. And so Venus, the 3rd lord, is exalted. The dispositor of Venus is also exalted. So then also we have the third, that's less important, the 3rd from the 3rd. So I think looking at it from just, you know, briefly touching on it, it's already showing some potential for strength of volition, right?
Yes, definitely. I mean, it's a really good chart. The worst dignity is the sun. Well, but still it's manifested by Mercury. And
yes, we can also look at like the 2nd, what is it, the 3rd from the Karaka and so on, and the 5th from the Karaka, and then you would have also exalted Venus, and you would have the Moon with an exalted Jupiter there. So there's several indications that it must confirm, right?
Just like you said, it also shows the friction. There has to be some Saturn activity and Sun on the body.
Yes, I know too little of his life. You know, I'm not the person to really look into what these people have been doing, but it's nice. Like
I can tell you something, that he is a charitable person. He has a, you know, an organization that helps children and youth, like a social work organization.
Yes, well, that's the 5th, Jupiter in the 5th house there in the Rashi chart, and making him a Srimantaha. Nice.
Yes, and otherwise he doesn't. He also likes to when he was young, at 17, he had to choose between tennis and football. So he was very athletic, so a very good football player as well. And what else can I say? His life is just dedicated to the sport. He doesn't do much else. He's had a girlfriend since 2005. So he doesn't get into any scandals or anything.
It's funny, like a lot of tennis players are really good football players. Because my brother was also used to be a professional tennis player. And so I know a little bit about the whole thing, but I don't really know about his life specifically. But they have like the sense, you know, the talent with the ball, right? But many of them are really good football players. They have a lot of skills with their feet as well. So I think for Rafael it was in Pisces, right? Also, so in the Rashi. But yeah. So yeah, the Bhamsa chart is clearly showing some potential. So I could also, if you look at but should I go to the transits first to show it, like the day?
We should look at the day yesterday to see how it played out.
Okay, so just have to set it. It's only one day, so just go like this. I'll just make it a little later. I don't know exactly when he became when he won, but
I can tell you if you want to know some dates.
So the hour is not going to be too important here.
No. I also just wanted to mention that he has he's seen as a great, like the way he you know, throws back the ball. He's a good defensive player, and they measure the speed at which like the ball and it's like really super fast. I don't know if I can find it right now, but it's like an impressive speed.
Yeah. Speed, yeah. That the whole Ashwini thing, and then Mars, yes. And then Rahu in Aries also. Because he's like very instinctive, right? He does all the right things at the difficult times. And that's also the Mars thing, like the determination to really shine when things get tough.
Can I read just this description of his playing style, because I think it matches what we see?
Sure, yeah.
Nadal generally plays an aggressive behind the baseline game founded on heavy topspin ground strokes, consistency, speedy footwork, and tenacious court coverage, thus making him an aggressive counterpuncher. Known for his athleticism and speed around the court, Nadal is an excellent defender who hits well on the run, constructing winning plays from seemingly defensive positions. So...
Defense, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so
the defense is Ketu, that Ketu in Libra.
Yes. Should we move forward with this?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so what we have here, so what we need is his Amakarka was Mercury, right?
Yes.
So we need south factors connecting to Mars or the third lord in the Rashi, right? The third cusp is all about competition. And so all Mars is his ascendant lord, as you mentioned, yes. So here we see Mercury, the Atmakaraka, the planet with the highest degree in the horoscope, right? The south factor, Rashi aspecting the third lord, Saturn. So we already have the Rashi chart involved. Then we need the Bhamsa chart involved, and so that would be the first lord or the relevant cusp lord, right? Should be connected to the Rashi chart, should be connected to south factors or relevant factors in the Rashi chart, which is the third house here, which is Saturn. So that would be Mercury again, right? Mercury is the first lord here, but also Venus, because Venus, the third lord in the Bhamsa chart, trines Jupiter, and Jupiter can always give in transit.
It's a manifester.
It's a manifesting planet, and yes. So the Bhamsa chart has been taken care of, right? Then in the 60 chart, it's also Mercury. So Mercury has this Rashi aspect going on to the third lord here. And the third lord is also Venus. Venus is again trine by Jupiter. So the transit is happening. And then to make it a really purposeful event, we should have the Karaka is the sun, but we should also have the ninth lord involved because it's the important cusp in the D45 chart, which is a ninth divisional chart, which relates to purpose and dharma, right? And making it a really important event in terms of his life path. And obviously it is, right? So that's also Venus, the ninth lord, and which is also the first lord, which is also connecting to Jupiter, which Jupiter is also here on the ascendant, right? Also, you see that his ascendant lord Mars is strongly connected to the nodes. So when something important happens, the node should be involved. And so Mars is conjunct Ketu, as you mentioned, right? His ascendant lord is conjunct Ketu in the 4th house here in Aquarius, which is all about titles also, right? Aquarius has that
11th house connotation.
Like a past also, Saturn involved. And then here we have Rahu and Ketu. So here there's a Rashi aspect to Rahu at that point. And so on. So it's quite strong, I think. Also, so we have that involved. If you go back to the...
He was also having a moon return, I noticed, like the transiting moon was in Taurus as well.
Yes, and also Mercury. So Mercury was doing it, moon was...
The sun.
And the sun, so yes, that's kind of interesting.
Because the sun and the moon for him are yoga karakas as well, so...
Exactly. So then if we go back a little bit to look at the Charanavamsha, which is, how anchored the person is on the path. Like it shows the path that the individual is on, which is important for the Rashi chart. He just changed from the Leo Rashi Dasha to the Virgo Gemini Dasha. And so Virgo is also really, because I was mentioning like Aquarius relating to, titles perhaps, right? And Virgo is the sign of titles in the Rashi chart because it rules the 11th house cusp, the love you get from your public, and it's also manifested by its lord, right? So Mercury is a manifester, but it's also the lord of the 11th cusp there. Also Jupiter from a very nice dignity is aspecting it. And then we also have the sun and Saturn. So I don't know how it plays out for him, but...
I have to say something. I noticed that his Mars is debilitated in the Navamsha, but at least it's manifested by Mercury.
Yes, also Jupiter is also debilitated. So
it's interesting.
But yes, but I think, and the Navamshas, of course, are purpose, right? But this Maha Yoga in the Rashi chart is a good thing, like the 9th, 7th here exchange.
You know what I'm thinking? I think maybe because Mars is his Amatya Karaka, so his friends, so he doesn't have time for his friends. And also Jupiter, what is Jupiter? His siblings, so, and teammates. So he doesn't have time to spend with them maybe, so that's why.
Yeah, and the thing is that we don't know a lot about him, You see how it's such a persona. I mean,
he has sun in the 8th, of course, he's hiding.
He's hiding. You cannot know what's really going on. So we're just looking at his performances and how he acts in the world and how he appears, right? So there's also the Rahu Ketu here, and there's some other yogas going on too. So we don't know too much about him, but I mean, I don't at least, but I don't know how open they are. But I guess these people are all very protecting their privacy, right? But in the Charanavamsha, he's ruling Virgo, which is the 11th, which is important of receiving titles. So it's kind of funny that he just changed a couple of days ago.
Yes.
And Gemini, of course, is Atmakaraka, which is important for the Charanavamsha. And the sun is also a natural indicator of, and it's the 8th house. So maybe like probing deep, right? So this guy went truly deep into, and he's only like beginning of his 30s, and he already won like
11
such an
times.
extreme life, you know.
Yes.
So I see that it would be interesting to see how this evolves with his sun and Mercury in the 8th house, and Scorpio ascendant, and how he progresses in life. He's such a still a relatively young guy. So
I think definitely Rahu has had a say, because as we mentioned before, its lord is exalted, and also, you know, in Aries it has to pursue the fire of inspiration, and in the 6th also he has to pay his dues to society, so his taxes and everything. So it's interesting how that is playing out for him.
Did you also want to say something about his father, like before we talked a little bit, and you said
Yes.
about his father?
His father was like a businessman. He had several businesses. One of them was a restaurant. Another was a company that made glass, I think. So let me see how
He had a restaurant, his father?
Yes.
That would be like Venus and Cancer could make it.
Okay, so his father was a businessman. That's Mercury with the sun, because the sun is also the 10th lord. So it's a double father connotation.
Yes.
8th house,
And
other people's money.
supported by other people, yes.
And he was actually...
It's also a clan, like that family is like, it's really a clan. You also see it with the Williams sisters, like Serena Williams and Venus Williams, right? It's like this clan of people, like protecting them and really supporting them.
And it's really interesting how this 8th house plays out, because when he was 17 or something, he was invited by the National Federation of Tennis in Barcelona to go there and practice there. But he said, no, I want to stay in my own town, because it was a smaller town, but it's like, if you're good in a small town as well. So that way he didn't get the support from the government, but he got the support from his father, the financial support to continue his career. But that's a very 8th house thing, to be like hidden there in your little town.
And also, if you're not getting support from, because I noticed, because I have, you know, a brother who's been into it as well. If you don't get the support, it's an expensive thing. I mean, so there should have been some. And if you say his father is a businessman, it perfectly works out here. So yeah, and he has this quite prominent 8th house in Gemini.
His mother was a stay-at-home mother, and it shows as well, because, you know, that exchange, Moon, Venus, Cancer, Taurus, very stable, very home-oriented signs. Taurus and Cancer.
Lots of responsibilities also, like Saturn in the 2nd here as the 4th lord. Yeah. Interesting. So yeah, I think that's like a snapshot, overview, we could say, of Rafael Nadal's horoscope. It shows some interesting things in terms of success and the dasha he's running. Also, the power of the moon. Right, it's his most powerful planets. I mean, in terms of the yoga points.
And I think when he goes into Mars, I mean, it's also going to be good, because Mars is exalted there. So maybe he's going to become a trainer or something at some point. Who knows?
Could be. Or media also, like 3rd also relates to media, which, I mean, yeah, he can do whatever he wants.
Yes, he has a Maha Yoga. He can do whatever he wants. Exchange between the
7
and 9.
And relationships, like, I think, yeah, it looks like
the public,
a charmer also, and yeah,
I think it's more the public. Because the moon is also the public.
Yes, Mars and Venus aspecting that.
Oh, and his spouse, look, it's the moon exalted, so his girlfriend is also very nice.
Yes, so we could look at the 7th from the what is it here, from the Atmakaraka 9, that also has a Venus aspected by Moon and Jupiter, so that would also make her pretty, right?
Well, Jupiter is debilitated, but the moon is working out.
And so on.
I think this was a very interesting example, and it shows very well, like such a famous person, it would be really weird for it to be unclear.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. So should we end there?
Yes. Maybe you can stop sharing your screen so we
Oh,
can
I'm still
start.
sharing. All that sharing.
Yes. Okay, so thank you everyone for watching. If you enjoyed this video and you would like to see more like these, let me know in the comments. Also, give it a thumbs up. And you can check out Levi's website, levicosijn.com, my website, yourstarsandI.com. On my website, in the course section, I have some recordings of past classes that I held with Levi. We had a class on careers, among other things. So that's really interesting to see, and we will have other classes in the future as well, so make sure you check out the website to see what's coming up. Do you want to say anything else, Levi?
No, thank you for having me on your channel so frequently. That's great.
Thank you for being here.
I think it's great to exchange these things, and
Yes.
I think for some people it can be like too much or something too technical, but then for people who are really into it, it's gonna be nice. So we could find a way to kind of balance that out. Maybe take it a little easier for some things.
Yeah, but maybe those people who don't understand these things now will watch it in a year or 2 years, and they will say, "Oh, okay, it makes sense."
Yeah. So thank you, Carmina.
Okay, just wanted to say I'm wearing an Ace of Spades shirt, and I think he's an Ace of Spades, but I didn't put this on purpose. It's like interesting.
Nice.
Okay, bye.
Bye.